Spinning. Hey, we're live.
We're live?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's do this, Dan Hicken. It's all things Gators. Dan Hicken and Frangie. Oh, Hick, I'm in a good mood.
Oh, we're all in a good mood. And see that underneath us, all things Gators, presented by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. Thank you, sc-ortho.com, for all your orthopedic needs. One of the great discussions here as we reflect on a national championship, which is, by the way, not just T-shirts, golf shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you win a natty in basketball, you go Peter Millar. Yeah, that's on the way with the logo. Oh, it says national champs on it. Very nice. So that's the for those who don't know, longstanding tradition for me. Whenever we win a natty, I like to get a T-shirt for the sport. Like I got one for golf. I get one for whatever. If basketball. Ooh. But anyway, I feel like this, Frank, in a way. We've been so blessed as far as, look, we're long-suffering fans in other sports. You have, for example, your Pittsburgh Pirates. I have my New York Mets. I just suffer, painful suffering.
Yeah, that's right.
Man, oh, man. I sit there and I think, how can we Gators ever complain and what we've accomplished in the last 30 years? I mean, 6 national championships, 3 in football, 3 in basketball. And yet, come September, when I look up at that scoreboard and we're not beating Miami or whomever, I want to be screaming angry. And I'm like, man, oh, man. I mean, this was such a fun run. And I'll let you reflect. You were in San Antonio, so that's really cool. I was out on a golf trip with a bunch of old Gator friends getting to watch the game, the Auburn game, live with them, which was awesome. But being there, I'm sure, was just incredible.
Dan, the Gators have played for 8 national championships in football and basketball.
Yeah.
3-1 in football and 3-1 in basketball.
Yeah.
I've been to all 8. Okay.
Yeah.
I was at all 8. I don't know. We have recency bias, and I know that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I can remember Gator Nation connecting with the team more than it did this one. There were 30,000 of us there in San Antonio.
That's awesome.
Along the Riverwalk. After they won the thing, they went along the river and had a riverboat cruise at 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
Every Gator fan was there. it was one of the most. Now maybe it's because it's been so long.
Yeah.
It was such a joyous time, man.
Yeah.
And every Gator fan, I think, whether you were there or not, can connect with this team. I made this comment earlier. We all connected with this team for a lot of reasons. And one, they won. They won the whole thing.
Sure.
I'm still not sure how they did, but they won the whole thing. Secondly, there weren't any top 100 recruits, Dan.
Right.
They weren't a cocky, mouthy bunch. There's no trash talking. They played with a chip on their shoulder. They love representing the University of Florida. They love telling people Gator boys stay hot. They connected with each other. I thought it was one of the most enjoyable runs I've ever watched as a lifelong 60-plus year Gator fan.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever enjoyed one more. And being there, it was extraordinary. And San Antonio is the perfect place for it. And God, what a great run! I'm still on a high a week later, Dan. It was that incredible. It really was.
Yeah, and the way they did it, Frank, I mean, if you go back to even the UConn game, the resiliency, it was one of the most resilient teams in Gators history in any sport. But you just, at some point, I mean, again, even watching the Houston game and when they got down and you're like, uh-oh, but you're like, not yet. We're okay. And you learn that lesson by watching this team. Some made a big argument. They haven't played their best basketball in the tournament. Well, they probably played their best basketball of the year in the SEC tournament.
Agreed.
But boy, Walter Clayton, at the very least is on Mount Rushmore of Gator hoops at the very least and can make an argument. I would hope, and I saw the preview of the banner that will hang, and I know you honor team, and I know you'll put, national champions, nothing sweeter. I hope you put SEC tournament champions. I would also put Walter Clayton first team All-American on there because he's the first and he was so good for us. And it was just, I mean, again, UConn, the ESPN probabilities, Frank, you saw that graphic where, it's UConn was going to 85%, and Texas Tech was 92%, and Auburn was 93%, and Houston was 90%. I mean, but Florida answered every single time. It was great.
And I will tell you, going through all that with them, I was with a bunch of Gator fans, and I got to where I've never been like this. I've always been the panic guy. Oh, my God, we lead. Oh, my God. We're never coming back. The whole time, every game, I was like, you know what? be relaxed. They've proven they can come back to one of these. I told buddies around me in the Houston game, they were getting outplayed the whole game. I told the guys, listen, relax. Just relax. They always come back. Now, listen, if it had gotten to 16, 19, 22 points, they might.
Yeah.
But they always kept it 12, 8, 9, 7, 10, 11, 8. It was they never let it get to where they couldn't come back. And every time, that's what was the magic of this team. It was a movie script, Dan. If you think about it, it was. I mean, remember Hoosiers? They trailed every game, but they kept back. One time, Ollie made the free throws. Another time, Jimmy made the shot. One time,
God bless Ollie.
Yeah.
God bless Ollie.
That's how this was. It was a movie script. They trailed every game. They trailed every game, and they kept coming back. And it was the magic of this season for a Gator fan base that hasn't had a championship in one of those two sports in a long time.
Right.
It was truly magical, and it really was. And about the Walter Clayton Jr., how is he not the greatest player of all time at a school? Not the most talented.
Right.
Not the biggest recruit, not the best pro, maybe. We'll see. Not the greatest of all time. Number one, there's only 2 sets that ever won national titles. Those 5 starters in 06, 07, and these 5 starters. So there's only 10 starters who've ever won a national title.
Right.
And can you argue that any of those 9, even those great players on the 6 and 7 teams, but any one player did more to lift the team to a title than this guy did? You can't.
And I think, Frank, you have to, when you tell his story, and most know it by now, especially Gator fans. But again, here's a kid who was in the swamp at the Orange and Blue game Saturday and could have been winding up his football career.
Right.
And as a you think about, like, as a father, your kid's a 5-star, 4-star, whatever in football, and Florida and Georgia have offered. You can go anywhere in the SEC to play football. In basketball, you've got JU, with all due respect, and Iona,
right,
and you have no stars.
Right.
And so you're like, son, and the story goes, well, he's out working out one summer, and he's like, I don't want to do this crap. I want to play hoops. And so he decides to bet on himself, play hoops. I don't know how much money he made himself during the tournament run, but he made himself some money because he moved up in the draft process. And I'm amazed by, because ultimately, what is he, 6'3", Frank?
6'3", yep.
At that, yeah. So, I mean, that's tough height for we'd love you to be 6'6", Walt, but that release of his and the fact that he can get off any shot. And listen, we've seen some great three-point shooters at Florida. Lee Humphrey comes to mind, obviously Frazier, some of those guys. But this guy, clutch-wise, I don't know if there's been a better clutch shooter than Walter Clayton Jr.
Think about this. He's second all-time in made threes at Florida, and he played 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
All those other guys played 3 and 4 years. He's second all-time. Great shooter. You know what? The moment was never too big for him. Even in the Houston game, I'll tell you this about Kelvin Sampson. It's very clear.
Yeah.
They somehow beat Duke, and Florida beat Auburn, both coming from behind. I promise you, at some point, Kelvin Sampson got his staff together on that Sunday and said, here's what. He is not going to beat us.
Right.
If the other guys can all go for 20, and we'll lose by 40, but he's not beating us. He's beaten everybody else in this tournament with these 30-point games and these clutch shots and these threes down the stretch. That son of a gun's not going to. It was very clear they ran a second guy at him. They ran a post guy at him. They left guys open because they were not letting Walter Clayton beat them. And at the end of the game, he beat him with a big three and then with his defense. So that's the amazing part of what he did. But those 3 guards, I'll remember those 3 guards forever.
Yeah.
I've told you this before. Probably my favorite Florida team was that 94 team because I was covering them as a radio guy. And I was there. And Craig Brown and Dan Cross, they were so overachievers. There weren't a lot of top 100 recruits on that team either. And they bonded and they connected. I think this team is like that. Now, the 06 and 07 teams connected too, and they had great players. But it was amazing the way this team connected. And I'll say it again, Dan, the way they connected with their fans.
Yeah.
The way the fans that river, when they went on that river cruise at 2 a.m, I was there. I watched 30,000 Gator fans. Some were crying. They were reaching into the river just to high five these guys. It was an amazing connection, and it's a season I'll remember forever. Yeah. It'll be one of the forever memories for me as a Gator fan.
And and we should also credit the coach. I mean, 39 years old, Todd Golden, such a terrific job. And I'll tell you what I like. Listen, I like a lot about him. Obviously, as a coach, he's done a lot of great things. But as far as his X's and O's, more than Billy, I would say this guy can design a play out of a timeout and they can execute said play. And they did that time and time and time again throughout this year. It's a definite skill as we go forward, and something to get that I think just in terms. And I'm not a basketball savant in terms of, drawing up plays and all that, but you could see how, because they would be successful, they would run plays that would work, especially out of timeouts, and he would make adjustments. He just did a terrific job with this group of guys. He really did.
To that end, I totally agree with that, Dan. To that end, I'd love to see a stat of first 6 minutes of the second half. Gators, because they came out of that halftime not just in the tournament, but every game, no matter how far he did something at halftime and made an adjustment. In the first 6 to 8 minutes of every second half, they dominated. They dominated. And so it was amazing. But I'll say this, so absolutely give him credit. Those 3 guards, Will Richard, what a big game he had against Houston, or they don't win.
Right.
Martin hit the 2 big free throws, or they don't win. He was a defensive presence. Kelvin Sampson said something that I didn't realize in his post game. They talked about the end game, and it wound up being the Sharp that took the shot, and then Clayton made the run out and made him change. We all know the play. He had to drop the ball, touch it. But Kelvin Sampson was interviewed afterwards at his post game presser, and he said, "You have to understand, they get credit for all their offensive and they're a really good team." He said, "But Elijah Martin and Will Richard are elite defenders." Level. And I never thought about that. He said, "I thought about it maybe with Martin because he's such an athlete, looks like a football player. I thought about it with Richard." But he said elite level defenders that whoever they were covering weren't going to get a shot off. Right. And I thought about that. That Florida had elite level defenders because they were a year earlier weren't very good on defense. So I give it. So all the things you have to do, and when it's over, they won the national title. I told a story, Dan. So you were watching the game on TV. Were you back in Jacksonville by then? Were you back home? Okay.
Yes.
You're watching him on TV Monday night. We're at the game. Well, if you're watching on TV, you've got this TV picture, you've got the game and the clock, right? Yeah. All in the picture. Well, if you're at the game, you don't have the clock unless you look away to it because you're watching it. So
you ain't looking away.
Right. So they got the ball with 19.7 seconds, down 2, they bring it up. Dan, I forgot about the clock. So I see them bring it up, and they nothing in the middle. They swing to the right. They've got nothing there. They swing it back to the left. Nothing. Finally, Sharp comes out on the little elevator screen, and looks like he's got a 3. And Clayton makes him change, so he drops the ball, and Condon's diving for it. I forgot about the clock. I forgot I'm worried about Condon getting called for a travel when he's rolling on the floor.
Right.
So and then all of a sudden, and I think there's 60,000 people there, and then all of a sudden, none of us are watching the clock. The horn sounds. And like, oh my God, they won the national championship. I forgot.
That's great.
Kicking down. And when that horn sounded, we all were like, oh my God. The bedlam. And I was sitting in the Gator section. Yeah. The Gator sections. The bedlam when that horn sounded. It's hard to explain. It is hard to explain because you'd forgotten that clock was there and the horn sounded. That was it. It was an amazing run. It really was.
It was. And so now we look forward and Golden's going to get a contract extension. We sort of heard that. He admitted that on Saturday. And Condon's going to test the NBA waters. If he comes back, and he didn't play his best basketball in the tournament. Right. But if he does come back, they'll have the best front line in the country. No we're already hearing about the kid from Princeton. I think he's visiting either yesterday or today. Yeah. So in the portal, one of the best point guards in the country, but it doesn't matter where they're ranked because Golden has shown a knack for finding the right guys. Right. So give him credit for that. They have CI's kids coming in as a freshman who's a baller, right? Cornelius Ingram's son. Right. So I'm bullish on the future for Florida, man. I think that guy's got a chance to build something. I'll say it again. I didn't know that they were able to accomplish this. I didn't think they could get to this level again. The fact that they have, tip my cap to Golden, tip my cap to the program. We're talking about full houses at the O'Connell Center, which I love, sellouts. So, very excited. You're the basketball guy, so you're gonna have some busy work here coming up throughout the summer, and to stay on top of all this.
Well, and to that end, since you have assigned me the basketball beat,
that's right. That's your beat,
which I wear proudly. I'll tell you, first of all, Condon's going to come back. His game's not NBA ready.
Right.
He's got NBA skill set, so he'll be there at one point, but I'm pretty sure he's coming back.
Mhm.
When he does, you're going to have to play Houck at the 3 some, because Thomas Houck's got to be a starter. He was one of the most valuable players in the
Oh, he's terrific.
So he's got to start.
And development like this, right? I mean, just great to watch.
My guess is it'll be Chinyelu, Condon, and Houck up front. Aberdeen's earned a chance to start. And if you watched video, the Princeton guy you talk about is Xavier Lee.
Right.
Have you watched tape of him? Have you watched it?
No.
Dan, he's
That's your job.
6'4", lean. He's an NBA guy. And it's down to what you read is that St. John's in Florida, which I think Florida's going to get him. He's from the Northeast, and so you don't know, but they will be, and then all the guys that are back, they will be really good again next year. Handlogton will be a backup again. I think Klavjar will come back and be the shooter off the bench again. They will. Aberdeen proved he can play. Aberdeen
play, Aberdeen, I'm excited about him.
He has got this thing built. If they sign Xavier Lee and Condon comes back, and I think both are going to happen, I would be extremely surprised if they're not a Sweet 16 or Elite 8 team next year. Extremely surprised.
Wow.
What a job by this 39-year-old Todd Golden. I'm glad he's going to be there for the long haul.
Yeah.
These are really good times for Florida basketball. And I was wrong, by the way. I said this. When all the Mike White stuff happened, it's not that I thought Mike White was the second coming of John Wooden. I just thought, he's a solid coach. He wins a tournament game every year. He got him to the Elite 8.
Yeah.
I didn't think they'd be able to go out and immediately get a guy better. Well, I was dead ass wrong. Scott Strickland identified his guy. He knew. I'll tell you a story about that. I've told a story on my radio show. When Mike White left, Scott and I are friends. Okay, but Jeremy Foley and I are really good friends. So I talked to Jeremy more. I talked to Jeremy a couple days later. So you know what they're going to do? This was 2 days after Mike White left. Jeremy goes, Scott's got his guy. Go sign him. And I said, wow, can you tell me who he is? He said, nope, not going to tell you. And nor should he have told me. I'm a media. But he said, Scott, 2 days later, knew who he wanted, went to get him. And that's what Jeremy told me. Well, give Scott Strickland. I got to make a comment about Scott Strickland, too, by the way. But give Scott Strickland credit. He knew exactly who to get. And the guy he got won the national championship. So it's a pretty – Florida basketball is an amazing story, Dan, a truly amazing story.
Yeah, it really is. And boy, looking forward to it again next year. And, just great times. Great to be a Florida Gator. Let's talk spring football real quick. Just to wrap up. It's funny because there's so many good things happening. And I've been telling you this now for a couple, we have hope. It's legitimate hope. If you listen to people down there, we're not just one of the best teams in the SEC. We might be one of the best teams in the country, blah, 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 blah. Ultimately, though, everything is, and I asked this on a radio show today, if DJ Lagway starts every game next year, and I should say finishes every game, but if he starts every game next year, then what do you forecast Florida as? And I really come back to, I think at worst, 9-3. Listen, watching those receivers run around, the offensive line that they have, the way the defense played, the running game. They're an experienced kicker. There is a lot to like about this Florida Gator football team. And with DJ Lagway, who many of us think is very special, the sky is the limit for this Florida team. And so the biggest takeaway wasn't the orange and blue game. It was Billy's comments that, he's going to start throwing in a couple weeks.
Right.
And everybody was like, okay, good.
Well, I agree with that. I'll tell you this, Dan. I think they have a roster now that's equivalent of the good teams. Do you agree with that? Do you agree with that? They have a roster now that's on par with the Alabamas, Georgias, Ohio States of the world. That it looks like they're now. Lagway's got to take the next step. Last year he was 12 touchdowns and 9 picks. This year it's got to be 24 and 7, right? Sure. But every indication is that he will, if he's healthy. I'm told that he is healthy. I'm told that the shoulder won't be a problem, that there was a lower body thing that he had dealt with, that they dealt with it, and that's what kept him out more than the shoulder. That's what I'm told. So my guess is the shoulder's going to be okay and he's going to be healthy. The biggest question I have, look, the running back room's loaded. We saw those receivers. They may have the best offensive line in the country because 4 of them are back. They have dudes on defense. We saw that. The biggest question I have, and I'll be honest, is can the passing game called by Billy Napier and the offense and the sideline adjustments, can Billy be good enough? That's my question. And I hope he is. And I have no reason to believe he won't be. But if he is, yes, they have a roster. And if a quarterback takes the next step and is healthy, to your point, They have a roster. They can be a player. They should be a playoff team. Okay, they should be. Ole Miss was a playoff team. Florida beat them. LSU was a playoff team. Florida beat them. It's a tough schedule again, but it's not as tough because some of those quarterbacks are gone. I think they're a very, very good football team.
Yeah.
So, but I want to make one point. Will you allow me 1 point here? Can I make
one point?
Okay.
Surely.
I want to make 1 point.
We can talk Gators all day. It's fine with me. I'll stay on here till tonight. Until your radio show starts.
You. When the spring game happened, apparently people booed. So some people booed Scott Strickland.
Mm-hmm.
Let me say this. I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know, and I know all over Twitter or X that that can be a bad place, man. It can be a dark place. And
I know it.
Here's what I'll say about the AD. The basketball coach that he handpicked just won the national championship. The national championship that he handpicked. The football coach he handpicked appears to have a really good roster, a generational quarterback, and they will be a sleeper pick to make the playoffs among the national media guys you watch. Facilities, once upon a time, weren't very good, are now among the best in the SEC. The football standalone building is why Billy can get those players. The basketball arena looks like a little NBA arena now. The baseball stadium is as good as any minor league stadium in the country.
They're doing an $8 million improvement to the basketball practice facility.
And they're improving that. Facilities are top notch. The basketball coach won a national title. The football coach he hired looks like he's got a great roster. NIL is fully funded. There's not a hint of impropriety. How in the world do you not like your AD? I don't know where this has all come from. And once Twitter Gator decides he doesn't like it, there's no changing it. But what if the football team goes to the playoffs? What if they make the Final Four?
They won't be booing them anymore. I promise you that. It's coming from year after year of frustration with football. Generally speaking, it would be it if you want to cut to the chase. And again, we were in a little bit of an abyss, or a big abyss here the last few years. So, and then they they'll throw in the side stories about some of these other coaches and stuff. So, but yeah, listen, I mean, home run with Todd Golden, home run.
Right, so these are good times to be a Gator.
Great time.
I need to I want to get that Peter Millar golf shirt. I didn't know they had that. So.
Oh yeah, nice little logo, national champs. Yeah, very comfortable. Yeah, me and the old Ox Gator got them. So that's how we celebrate our natties now. And in football or basketball, you go a little extra.
I get it.
We're also, by the way, I saw some other cool things that I actually bought something for another friend, but I haven't gotten it yet. So I'll tell you about that the next time we do a podcast. Remind me. But yeah, it has to do with alcohol. I'll tell you that. So,
by the way, I know what that is. Okay.
Yeah.
I may or may not have already ordered one. Okay. Just so.
That looked good. I like that. I thought that was cool looking. So
these are all things Gators. It's a great time to be a Gator.
Yeah.
Dan Hicken and Frangie.
Yeah. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Southeast Orthopedic Specialist, se-ortho.com. And we'll talk to you next week. Thanks, Frankie.
See you.
All right.